I use it when I need it. I wear it all the time to maintain the signal within my energy field. But on a daily basis, I might probably use it 2 or 3 times, and then I might not use it for a week, but it just depends what I want it for. I have tried to find something else that does what the disc does, and I've never found anything. And I've been working with complementary therapy for 20 years. If I have a problem with a pain, then I will use my disc, I will hold it, and I will focus on the area where the pain is and then direct the pain to go away if that's appropriate. At the moment, I'm trying to establish why I'm having some digestive problems. So I'll perhaps use the disc to give me communication with my body and find out what's affecting it adversely. So I might use it each time I make an item of food or each time I'm in the supermarket and I want to purchase food. I think most of us have prayed or asked for questions or beseech like a cringing child, give me this, give me that, give me the other. And I don't think any of us have ever actually experienced any two-way communication whatsoever. But once you connect to this higher self aspect, as Cobes-Wickler refers to it, then you not only feel it viscerally, you experience it emotionally. So you get the answer verbally, if you like, or cognitively in your head, and then your body also gives you the physical signal that you had when you first established the communication. The more you work with people and the more you give them the disc for the first time, the more you can say with almost 99% certainty how they will respond. And what we do as therapists with Empower or demonstrators is we never actually tell the person what to expect, simply because we don't want to create an expectation and we want them to experience it for themselves, but we know exactly what they're going to experience. And that is usually a shift of their physical body, because the energy in their body is suddenly, instead of sort of sparse and dissipating in various areas, becomes much more condensed, much more focused. It comes up through their feet, goes up through their body, which creates a change in their posture. They become straight, stand straight. And then usually there is a tilting either forwards, backwards, sideways. We used to have some very strange ones that people would have. My young son had one which he felt was totally inappropriate for a teenage boy, with this like hip thrust. But we changed it because we wasn't comfortable with it. But he needed that because he needed something that was quite profound to make him realise he'd felt something. Whereas if it had been just a little bit of a shimmy shake or something, he would have thought, oh, I've imagined it. But it was such a profound movement, and then the opposite movement, if he wanted to ask a question that had a no answer, that he couldn't deny it. And we love having skeptics. We love demonstrating the disc to skeptics, because this might be the only opportunity that their higher self will ever have of saying, I'm here. Look, I really am here, and I'm here for you, and I'm here to be able to help you evolve and grow. And if they don't make it profound enough for them to feel, then they're going to say, no, it didn't really work. So usually, I did a show at a police federation seminar where these officers who are under really quite profound stressful situations were being given the opportunity to experience stress management or complementary therapies. And I had a 6'2" PE instructor for the police who came along, and he was kind of like giving it a bit large because there were other women police officers there and everything, and it literally twisted him in half, and then his arm went up behind his back, up behind his shoulder, and he couldn't even look at his arm. He kept saying, is my arm really going in the air? I'm not doing that, am I? What's doing it? And I said, no, just go with it, it's good, isn't it? And I said, have you got a problem with your shoulder? And he said, well, yeah, I've had a problem with my shoulder for 2 years. But it was so, well, amazing really, but to us it was kind of every day. But he needed that because he would have just dismissed it. It was in front of his peers, it wasn't something that he was consciously controlling. It resolved the problem in his shoulder, and he went on to buy a disc. So, the door was opened. And it sounds a funny expression, but that's always been my view of somebody experiencing the disc. We give them the disc to try, and a door opens onto a new reality, a new potential, and it is entirely up to them whether they choose to go through that door. And if they do, then the world will change, and it's never the same again. When I was first introduced to the disc, my background was in clinical care nursing. I worked in intensive care and coronary care. I'd actually come out of nursing because I felt that people needed to take responsibility for staying well. I think it's something like 80% of illnesses have a stress-related factor. So if you can help somebody to take control of their health, then you're going to reduce the number of admissions into hospital. As I looked at the emotional traumas and also the blockages that I was putting in my own way to get on with my own life, the physical problems that I was carrying around, like neck and shoulder problems, lower back problems, a hip problem I was actually born with, which is resolved, those problems physically went away. And it was as if, you know, if you have a flex on an iron or a hairdryer and it's been twisted and twisted and twisted, and it can, what would you call it? It collapses in on itself and it coils. And as I said these things in Kobe's 28-day plan, it was then the coils undid bit by bit by bit, and my body actually became fluid again. I was able to move easily. I wasn't depressed, I was smiling, you know, so all the things that I thought were physical or medical problems were actually emotional or spiritual blockages or problems. If someone was searching online and they came across the disc, then I would say that they're looking for change of some sort or another. Some aspect of their life isn't going the way they want it to go, and they're looking to change that. And that can be, you know, relationships, it can be pain, it can be spiritually, it can be anything really, but it's some aspect of their life that they're not happy with. And you could spend a fortune on all sorts of things, courses that go on for months and nothing really changes. Or you could spend £25 and try the trial disc with nothing to lose. You know, you've got a money back guarantee. £25 is, let me see, I spend £5 a day on coffee. So over 5 days, that disc has paid for itself. The trial disc will last you, I don't know how long it will last you, but it will certainly last you long enough to experience things that you have never experienced in your life before. And it will help you to realise that you are so much more than that physical body. You are so much more than the life you're living, and you are so much more than you ever believed possible. The most incredible thing is when you get the disc, you first of all have it for yourself. So you're supposed to do the work on yourself, which is good. But then of course the temptation is, well, what else can it do? And can I help other people? Before I trained with Kobe, and the reason he actually created the practitioner course is because I was going off trying it on everybody, and he realised that perhaps we needed a formal training course. But one of the most amazing ones that I had was I was on holiday in Tuscany with a lot of girlfriends on a very boozy week. And one of the ladies there had been to a polo training course the week before. And this is, you know, horse polo. And she had done something to her neck, and they looked at it and they thought, well, they weren't sure if she'd actually had a stroke while she was doing this training on this bucking bronco horse. And so when I met her in Tuscany, she had, her right hand was contracted as just like an older person who'd had a stroke. The fingers were all like this. Her hand wouldn't come down at all, and her shoulder, and her head was stuck like this. And she was, what, 34, 35, youngish girl, but they said they couldn't, the doctors said they couldn't do anything about it. So all the people there knew that I'd got this weird disc thing, and they said, well, will you try and fix her, see what you can do? And I said, well, we're just about to have dinner. And they said, oh, don't worry, you can do it 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes. I thought, you know, there's a girl like this and 10 minutes, oh, you're just fine. So I gave her my disc, and I didn't know many of the commands, etc. And I just said, well, right, just say this after me. So first of all, she held it, and she got that, you know, that feeling of connection. You could see there was a slight change in her. And I said, right, just say, give me what I need, remove the symptoms, and correct the root cause of the contraction and pain in my right arm. And it was like The Exorcist. I mean, her arm was going up, and then it went round and out and like this. The head goes the other way, and everybody's just sat round drinking champagne going, oh, it's like, but it was just so funny. And after 10 minutes before we sat down to dinner, her shoulder had come down, her head had released, and the arm was down. So I thought, well, this is really quite good. And I thought, well, we really need to sit down for dinner. And she said, oh, it just feels so much better. And she said, but I still can't pick up my knife. I said, well, it'll come, don't worry about it. So we sit down, we had dinner and everything. Everybody got far too drunk. And then the next morning she was flying home to the UK. So she flies home, but I'm lying in bed the next morning and my arm starts going out of the bed and it's going like this and then it's going. And it was showing me that there was a point that I'd missed on her arm. So she's flown off. I thought, well, I can't do anything about it. So I thought, well, he said you can do it remotely. So I thought, okay. So I phoned her up and I said, look, this is going to sound a bit odd, but I'm going to send you something that will sort your hand out. So on my own hand, I put the disc, and she, in England and I'm in Italy, her hand started to change shape, her fingers all released, and it just went like that. And she could pick up a knife and fork and do whatever she wanted. And I have a written testimonial from her, and she's a senior accountant with one of the UK's biggest firms. So, you know, if she would try this, anybody would try it. But she never actually bought a disc. It was like she got what she needed at that time, and she didn't need a disc. Weird. When I was introduced to the disc, I had no idea what it did, really. I was just being drawn towards it, if you like. And I think the cost was something like £250. And it may seem like a lot of money, but most women have actually a cut-off point where they can get it under the radar. And it happens with shoes and handbags and all sorts of things. And I thought, well, you know, if it doesn't work, I'll send it back. It's the 30-day money guarantee, whatever it was. So I sent for my disc, and that was 16, 17 years ago. And I have used it on myself, my family, my friends, my clients, and it's the same disc, you know. So what that equates to over 16, 17 years is just pennies a day. And most people will be spending more than that on paracetamol. You know, so I would say try it. If you don't like it, send it back. But when you send for it, it will change your life.